This isn't an ad read, but me and my fiance have recently been trying out HelloFresh, and there's a whole bunch of things that come along with HelloFresh that have been just itching to redesign. I'm not the best chef in the world, so I'm often scrambling with the recipe card they give you to figure out exactly what you do. I need a lot of hand holding, and I often get lost in the recipe card itself. So that's what we're going to be redesigning today, the HelloFresh recipe card. This is a physical piece of cardboard that you get in the box with HelloFresh that explains all the ingredients and all the step-by-step directions you need to perform to create the dish. And like I said, I generally find myself getting lost sometimes in these directions. So I want to take UX UI principles and apply them to a thing in the real world, a physical piece of paper, so we can actually maybe make it a little more user-friendly for knobs like me that are trying to use HelloFresh. So gonna get stuck in here, and here's our brand guidelines as always. I've taken this from their website. I really like the color portfolio they've got here. I've been experimenting with a new tool that helps me to generate hues and different colors from a base color, and it's called Tint and Shade Generator. I'll share this in the description below, but you just type in a base code and it just generates a whole bunch of alternative colors for you. So really useful tool. I'm going to be using that, or a lot of these colors were derived from that tool. And we're also using Nunito for the font. It's very rounded, very friendly. HelloFresh is obviously a very friendly household brand, so we're going to keep that going using Nunito here. As always, we've got our stories. What do we want to do, really? At the base of it, we want to easily prepare and cook my dinner. Like, that's it. In order to do that, I have to understand which ingredients I'll need, extra tools I'll need, staples I'll need, and then I need to know the steps that I need to go through in order to, quickly get that done. I also need to understand how long it will take to prepare and cook so I can plan out my night. I want some basic nutritional information, calories, maybe protein, carb, fat breakdown. I want some basic safety instructions to prevent me from hurting myself. As I said, I'm not the best cook. It's very easy for me to just grab something out of the oven with my bare hands or just slice my hand off with a big knife. So, a little guidance will help. And then, of course, I want to contact support if there's any issues I find along the way. So, gonna get stuck in here and curious to see what I come up with. Haven't done a physical medium like this before since we did the Walmart redesign, the Walmart checkout redesign. So it's gonna be fun, and I'll see you guys in a bit. One of the first things that I'm changing about this card is just reducing the overall color profile. I find that a lot of interfaces and, I guess, print media these days tend to overuse color a little bit, and that seems to be the case in this card as well. The existing title was green. There was lots of other shades of green all over the piece of paper, so just getting rid of a lot of that and simplifying things significantly. There is a very clear primary-secondary relationship with the content containers on each side of the card. The large one being the primary container and the smaller one being the secondary container. So we can kind of reinforce that idea by applying a subtle gray to the left side, just implying that it's relatively secondary to whatever you're seeing on the right. And in this case, that is really what's happening, because on the right, we're displaying kind of the main details, and on the left, we're just talking about the ingredients. I really liked the photography that HelloFresh has going for them. It's unbelievably amazing. So just making sure that we're featuring that front and center to get people to pick that recipe for that night is definitely a win. We're going to keep that. Although this ingredients list at first looks a lot similar to the existing card, you'll notice that I've kind of refactored the amounts to display differently to try and pull the user's attention in a more unique way or a more intentional way. And I'm also trying to experiment with different ways where we can somehow reduce the amount of color again by getting rid of the full width title for the section and instead using a smaller one. And now I'm even taking that a step further and taking the color away almost completely with the exception of the bottom border. Realizing that we have a little more vertical space than we do horizontal space here, I'm opting to just stack the different amounts on top of each other and indicate which one is which using the color code, which is keyed at the upper right here. I spent a lot of time playing around with what I would imagine would have been a really interesting piece of visual flair, getting a little background color on these individual ingredients, but end up scrapping it because it just felt way too distracting. Like I said, too much color can oftentimes really confuse the user because color pulls your attention, and if there's too much color, then there's too many places for you to pull your attention, so just scrap that altogether. And then, of course, one of the main items I use to determine what I'm going to cook from the list of meals available that week is how long it's going to take me and how long I have to do the cooking. So floating up this information from the bottom of the card to the top left, where my eyes generally go to first, most Western worlds go from left to right, top to bottom, made a lot of sense. Here I'm just really trying to simplify the QR code experience. These days when people see a QR code, they kind of know what to do with it. So we don't necessarily need any arrows pointing to this. It kind of implies its function with its form. So we're just going to leave that as is and keep it in the footer on both sides of the card so that users or people that are trying to cook can quickly access help if they need to. And now I'm putting a little bit more information about the nutrition details onto this card. They're available on the website, but for some reason the card itself doesn't have any information about how many grams of protein, carb, or fat are in a given meal. And oftentimes if I'm like going to the gym one day, I'm gonna want to have something that's got a lot of carbs in it. Or if I'm, coming back from the gym, I want to get something with a lot of protein. So that kind of stuff makes a lot of sense to me, and just kind of breaking it out to the user in a really simple, intuitive, and visual way can help save them a lot of time in choosing which recipe to cook that night. I end up spending quite a lot of time trying to get this nutrition breakdown overlay really nailed, because obviously right now I'm kind of feeling that I'm using too much color again, and I don't want to force users' attention into this popover. It already pulls a lot of attention because it's floating on top of the image of the meal itself. So I'm trying to find a way to reduce the profile while also making sure the information is displayed clearly to the user, and color is important in doing that. But I do want to leave a bunch of it in here and not just cut to the final solution, because it's important that people understand that, like, design just takes time. Sometimes you have to try lots of iterations, try various extremes, and eventually you land on the just right solution, but it's very rare that you arrive at that the first time. Adding a really simple little notification component that the team can use very flexibly. But you can imagine that putting something like this here would be useful for people like me if there's a particular part of the recipe that's very challenging or maybe even a little bit dangerous. You can say, hey, just so you know, before you get going, you should do this. One thing that was a little confusing to me as a new HelloFresh customer was the difference between what an essential was and what an ingredient was. So here we're just kind of solving that problem by indicating to the user that although we've listed the essentials here, the actual ingredients are on the flip side of the card. Of course, none of this really matters. People that have eaten through HelloFresh before will know that all your ingredients are already in the bag that it comes in, so there's really not much chance to make an error here. Now, as we get ready to go through and create the preparation guide, it's important that we kind of understand the main usability issues that I personally had with the existing card. First was, again, too much color. The step names themselves were very saturated with green. That's not necessary. And then second of all, the steps weren't broken up into sub-steps. So it was almost written as if there was a paragraph of text you had to follow, and it was really easy to get lost in there. So understandably they did this because there's only so much vertical space on a physical card, but we're still going to break it out into sub-steps here because it just makes it a lot easier for the user to actually go through and remember where they were. They can logically think, okay, I'm on step 3, etc. And here we're really just painstakingly adding in all of the copy directly from the card, so I won't bore you with the manual text entry. We'll just skip to the end and have a look at what we ended up with. All right, I'm almost at 3 hours of recording time, which is a testament to how difficult this was for me, but I'm going to stop there. As you can probably guess, I don't do physical medium design often, and the restriction of not being able to make the canvas larger in some dimension really kind of held me back a lot. That was a big challenge for me here. But nonetheless, I think we've kind of arrived at a solution that will probably, that I think is much more user-friendly and just kind of looks and feels a little more modern and clean. So compared to the existing one, which I'll put up on the screen, we have a simpler information hierarchy where the name is just front and center. You know exactly what you're looking at. You can look at the prep and cook time, and then you can, of course, check out the calorie information and the nutrition breakdown, which was just missing from the existing card. And then if we go to the back, we can, of course, check out the cooking instructions and all the utensils we need there on the left. And then everything's kind of laid out using a numbered list to kind of help readers follow along where they're at, and you could maybe just cross them off as you go because they're not paragraph style now, they're list style. And I think this makes a lot more sense. Of course, the beautiful imagery that HelloFresh provides with their instructions really helps to make this look really clean. But yeah, that's it. Let me know what your thoughts are, whether or not you think this is an improvement. If any of you out there use HelloFresh, you'll probably have a little more. You probably know a little bit more about this than most. But yeah, this is a fun one for me. I'm going to get back into some digital, probably mobile interfaces next week. But until then, please let me know if you have any ideas for a sexy redesign. And have a lovely week, folks. Take care.